Hello guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Joseph Kraus. When I was 17 years old, I left the Hasidic Jewish community, which is an extremist cult with an ideology that is very toxic and dangerous. Today's story is about how I got lost when I was a little boy, and what I did. So basically, the thing is, there's Jewish holidays called Passover and Sukkot. Those holidays last at least 8 days. I don't know if both of them. Yeah, I think actually both of them does. Um, so the 4 days out of the two holidays is called, in Hebrew it's pronounced Chalamoid, which I don't know exactly what it translates, but it's just basically where it's not all the restrictions like on a regular holiday or on Saturday. You're not allowed to turn on a light, to cook, to do anything. You need to pray very long all day. But on those 4 days, because it's such a long holiday of 8 days, 4 of them is only partially restricted. And the only good thing about the 4 days is that's the only time out of the whole 365 days a year that people are allowed to have maybe a little bit of fun, or go places that you would normally not go, for example, to like parks and stuff. So that was an enjoyable part for many, especially kids. So the story is that most kids growing up in families were not allowed to go to the parks. Their parents did not allow them. Maybe even they just couldn't afford it, because to go to all of these amusement parks, or whatever they're called, let's say like Six Flags or something, could maybe cost a lot of money. And because the Hasidic Jewish community does not allow people to get an education, they end up being very poor because they cannot get any jobs or have businesses, because they were never educated. They don't speak very good English. They can't read and write in many cases, especially when they first turn 18. So therefore, maybe many people cannot afford it, but also many people are also simply extreme. They just believe that even though that maybe you're supposed to enjoy yourself a little bit more, I don't know if you're supposed to, or maybe that's just how people do it on those 4 days, on the Halamoid as we call it. They just like to be miserable and would rather not do anything, or maybe just go to a grave of some rabbi, which is really depressing, but for them that's a very exciting outing. Okay, but my family, specifically my father, happens to somehow wanted to always take the kids to places that I would say, out of my community and my class of like 20 or 200 other kids, I would say I was out of 99%, the 1%, 99% did not go to places like Six Flags and Chuck E. Cheese, where we went at least once, or similar names where I can even name them by name, but those are more regional parks. Like one is called Castle, which is like a big, well, it has golf, but it's not about golf really. It's about many different games. I forgot what they called in English. All these electric video games with the screen, and you get tickets and then you can buy stuff. Right, it's a lot of fun, and a big waste of time, but of money. I mean, and but for kids, it's like the most fun thing, even for adults, right? So, and there's go karts. So my family, my father allowed. My mother always tried to block us from going. So some people always like to say after I left the Hasidic community that, oh, your father was extreme and this and that. I don't think that's true. I actually think it's the opposite. My mother was a very extreme, abusive, and, as they say, joy killer. And but obviously there's two sides to each story, you know. But that was how it is. And So especially when we were younger, we would go sometimes, but obviously that even by going to those parks, there's a lot of negative stories that I can say. But today's focus is gonna be about what happened when I got lost. So the story is that every time I went to these parks, I was really had this fear of getting lost because we didn't speak any English, we didn't understand anything, and we were always brought up to think that all the non-Jews, the non-Hasidic Jews with the long curls and the big hat and the black clothes, how we were, are scary and evil. So to us, even though subconsciously and like we thought, wow, they look so cool, we still were very scared, like especially because you're a kid, right? So we always wanted to be together with the parents so we don't get lost, because these places are usually big, very big, or maybe only looked very big because to my little mind. But also keep in mind, we didn't understand signs, let's say, and we were not allowed to have phones. So let's say if we get lost, we couldn't text or make even a phone call, or we couldn't even speak English to ask help from somebody. Hey, I'm lost. Can you please help me? Can I call my dad? We didn't know how to say these, so we were always very. I'm saying we. I mean specifically me, but I'm assuming everybody else felt that way. Now, obviously, it was a lot of fun, but the whole time that wasn't subconscious. We wanted to be with the parents, especially when we were much younger. Okay, so the story is that at least one time I remember I got lost. I think it was actually at Six Flags, and actually there were many people that were not, they were Jewish, because many, even not Hasidic Jews, specifically not Hasidic Jews, just regular Jews, or maybe like I don't know, Reform Jews, like much less fundamentalist and extreme Jews, were going to that park. But to me they look like non-Jews. I didn't even know they were Jewish, but they also only spoke English. So I got lost once at Six Flags, and I remember I went to one woman, and my broken English, I tried to explain that I'm lost and I wanted to call my father. And the thing is, I knew my father's phone number, but growing up, they never taught us that phone numbers, there's area codes, and every country has a code, which I don't know what that is called, like one for the US, right? Like let's say 1-800 or 1845. So the area code where we lived was 845, right? That's Monroe, New York's area code. So that's my father's phone number area code as well. And I remember she was asking me for about 15 minutes what the area code was, and I didn't know what an area code is, because I didn't understand English, the word area code. And even if I would have understand, I didn't even know that existed. I guess like the phones that we had was somehow programmed that you didn't even have to press the area code, so I never really learned it, and we were never exposed to people outside of our box. So the only phone numbers that we might ever dial, not on our cell phones but on these landlines, were 845 numbers. So you didn't even have to press 845, you just press the number, and that's it. I don't want to say my father's phone number here, but you just press the, I think it's probably 6 or maybe 9 digits, what a phone number without the area code is, right? So that's all I knew. And I don't remember exactly how ultimately, I think actually my father just walked by, or maybe another Hasidic guy ended up walking by, but somehow we figured out that like I lived that to see the next day. But I remember how scary that was, and all these horror stories where a kid thinks he got lost permanently. That's how it felt. To me, it felt that once I'm lost, especially in these big parks, and that's it, I'm gonna die. Okay, that's how it felt. Because keep in mind, we didn't speak English, we didn't understand anything about the world. Everything was very scary. So And there's another time also where we went to Chuck E. Cheese, and something was, I don't know, I guess like normal things where kids and the parents, or maybe it was religious stuff. I don't remember too much what the exact story was. But basically, we were about to go home, and my father said, um, like something like saying, "Hey, I'm gonna leave you here. If you talk one more word, I'm gonna leave you behind. You're gonna be left." And that was far away from home, right? Like some random place in a parking lot of the Chuck E. Cheese. He's gonna drive away, and I'm gonna be standing there. And at that point, I don't know how old I was, but I was already a little older. I was not maybe 10, 8 years old. I was maybe, I don't know, 15, 16. I really don't remember, but I felt more confident at the time. So I really tried to assert my dominance and say, yeah, no problem, leave me here, I'm not scared. Obviously, all in the Yiddish language. And then he started driving off, thinking that I'm probably whatever, let's say he said I needed to do. Maybe he even said I needed to apologize to his sibling. I really don't know. Maybe he even said I needed to pray. I don't remember. Okay, maybe I can sit down for 2 hours and try to put myself, what is it called when you meditate, when the person talks and you go back in time. But yeah, basically and anyways, end of the story is he did drive away, and I guess like I was supposed to get really scared and start chasing the car, but in my heart I was like, I'm not scared, but also I really believed that he's not gonna drive away more than 10 feet. And he kept going 20 feet. I thought, okay, I can still see him. He's probably gonna stop because he doesn't want to leave me either, right? It's so scary because that's what they always tell us, that the outside world is like evil. And the evil Chuck E. Cheese. Obviously, when we went to Chuck E. Cheese, we were not allowed to eat anything. I think that's what Chuck E. Cheese is really known for. We were only allowed to like play the little games they have over there. So and the food made us really hungry, but we were not allowed to say that, oh, I think I like the food. No, because that was a sin to even say or think. Okay. So anyways, back to the parking lot. I was standing there, and my father started to drive away, and I got so scared. But my mentality, my personality didn't want me to move or say anything. I just stood there confidently and kept driving and driving until he completely disappeared. And that was one of the scariest moments in my life, but at the same time, it builded my personality, who I am. That was maybe one of the episodes in my life, of the stories of my life, where they helped me build character of not being afraid to let behind. Because as soon, it was like a big building. Yes, think about these big box buildings, and I didn't understand back then that all of the building you can drive around it. I thought he drove away permanently. He's not coming back, even if he is gonna change his mind, even if in a few minutes I'm gonna be kidnapped and gone permanently, right? Which, by the way, there's this story that we were always scared of kidnappers. It was always a thing. Oh, I see a red car, it's a kidnapper. I'm not sure exactly where that fear comes from. I think because also when I was in the 3rd grade, there was this story of a kid called Leiby Kaletsky. He got kidnapped and killed, but they never told us the whole story, which I later researched, and I found out it was actually another Hasidic pedophile who killed him, and they hide the story. I don't want to talk too much on it because I don't know, but you guys can research it yourself. So there was always this fear of kidnap and just like normal stuff, but even more crazy in my community, how we were brought up. So anyways, he kept driving, and I remember once I saw him, I was like, once he was gone from my view, I was like, this is it. It's like it was even that long of a pause that I didn't see the car and nothing, where I started to look around like, where'd I go? What happens next? Like it's like, when have you ever heard the saying like, now what? Like, let's say when somebody smacks you in the face and it's like, I'm alive. You say, I'm gonna shoot you. you just shot me. Now what? I'm still alive. So I was like looking around, and I even maybe started walking a little bit, and I guess he like paused behind the building, like far away, to like make me really scared. But at the same time, that built up my DNA. It changed my DNA permanently to be able to escape, not to be afraid to leave, because in that moment I left the Hasidic community. I started thinking for a second, how am I gonna adapt? It's called evolution, right? How am I now gonna adapt? How am I gonna survive in this secular American world? Okay, so as I stood there, my DNA literally transformed into a new type of person, a new mentality. This initial shock, right? Like, I guess I want to compare it a little bit to a version. Maybe it's really not the correct comparison or analogy, but let's say a virgin, once it's done once, you lost the virginity. It's permanently gone. So sort of the virginity of always knowing that I'm with my parents, they're never gonna leave me behind, and which also goes back to another video that I made of the story what I heard under the door of my parents, where you can find on this YouTube channel, and you can subscribe for many more stories that come. Anyways, guys, so I was almost gonna stop the video without completing the story. So of course, after standing there maybe for 2-3 minutes, the car came around, and I released, but I still acted like I wasn't scared or anything. And I remember my father being really kind of proud. This weird, that's how my father was always, even though he was preaching religion, but he was proud that his boy can survive in the non-Jewish world. So it was always a little bit like a two-faced shirt. At least that's how it felt to me, okay? So I saw it came back, and I was like, I was not scared, but that moment I felt this adrenaline, okay? And once the car was back, I was in the car, I was like, I did it. I left. I was out there all alone for the first time, and it was by choice, right? Because I remember basically where like I had the choice. I don't remember what it was about. Maybe if people will request a lot, I will try to think back, or maybe somehow even find out through research. It was probably not important why. It's probably just some bullshit reason, just like people always say, oh, why do Hasidic Jews wear a cap? Why do they wear the yarmulke? Why do they wear the curls? All the answers to that is BS. It's not a significant answer. It's just that's how it is, and that's how they all do it, and they don't like to change things. Other people on the internet like to give fancy explanations for all that, and they're like, oh, I'm so educated, I know the reason. Nobody, first of all, many times the reason that they give is not the reason at all. What we were told is other reasons. They just try to think what is the most logical sounding when you repeat it to others of the reason why you do it. So in my life, instead of trying to take all the rules and all the issues that exist and try to explain it and fit it into a box where everything sounds good, I'm like, after that, I'm gonna create the new boxes, the new world, and that's how I'm gonna live. Instead of taking the rules that already exist and say, okay, yeah, you need to wear a yarmulke so God reminds you that he's sitting above you and he's watching you so you don't sin. How about this? I'm not gonna wear a yarmulke, and I'm gonna remember not to do any evil, okay? That is gonna be my rule that I wanna live. Am I gonna enforce that rule on anybody else? Absolutely not, okay? Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and have a great day. Bye!